Hi everybody, Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today. It's a little action card. When I pull on this tab here, my snowman skates across my card and a sentiment appears. Stay with me, I'll show you how I made it. I'm going to talk about most of the supplies that I used as I come to them, but I just want to say straight away that my card base it's a thick white card, and I just cut the A4 sheet in half and I scored and folded it halfway to give myself a tent fold landscape orientation card. Otherwise, I've used Whisper White, and again I will tell you the sizes that I cut my Whisper White to as we come to them. Stamps that I use are from Spirited Snowman, and I used Memento Tuxedo Black and Whisper White ink, and I also used some other coloured stamp pads, and again I'll talk about those when I get to them. I used this die from the In the Woods Thin Nuts, and one or two other things that I used as we went along, and we'll talk about them as we get to them. Be the piece of card that you pull out, and it's ordinary Whisper White and 1.5 inches wide, and I've scored it at 3/8 of an inch from either edge, so 3/8 of an inch from that edge, 3/8 of an inch from that edge, so that I can fold it like that to give the piece more strength. But I want to stamp my message on it, so I'm using my Stamparatus, and I'm just going to hold it down with one of the magnets. I very rarely find that I need to use two. I'm going to put my message in towards that edge, but just a little bit in from that corner. So I'm just centering it up with where I want it, and I'm just going to pick it up on the plate of my Stamparatus, and I've got my my box that the stamps came in, the case that the stamps came in underneath this plate, because it helps me when I ink up the stamp, as I am doing with Memento Tuxedo Black. I've got the Winter Cheer Sentiment from the same set, and I'm just going to pop it up into that corner there. Oops. Pick it up on my Stamparatus and ink it up, and the reason why I'm putting something in that corner is when I made my first version of this, that bit looked very, very bare, and I did put some snowflakes in the end. And why is that sticking? I'll have to clean that in a second, but when I thought about it, I thought actually I would have liked a sentiment there, so that's why I've done that. And last little bit of stamping, I've got the snowflakes. Last little bit of stamping, I've got snowflakes, 3, 2, 1. And my last little bit of stamping, I've got the snowflakes stamp from the same set mounted up onto an acrylic block, and I'm just going to create a little snowflake pattern here with my Whisper White ink. And turn that around and get Now that I've done my stamping, I want to create a slit at the bottom of the card for my snowman to run along. So I'm going to turn the card over, and I've marked T for top, and I've marked a little arrow there so I know which direction my puller is going to go, because I am directionally challenged and I do make mistakes. So I'm going to start by coming up see, so 3/4 of an inch for the part that I'm going to pull along, and a further 1/2 inch just to give myself some room at the bottom of the card, and I'm going to mark 1 inch in from either side of my 3 3/4 length strip. So yeah, that's going to give me enough room, I think, to pull my my snowman to travel along. And I'm just going to draw a line between those two lines, and that is going to be where I make the slit. I've got my craft knife handy, so I shall use that and start by marking those 2 points, and I'm just going to slice along that line, and I'm going to go 2-3 times just to make sure that I've gone all the way through. And there we go, that is the slit that my snowman is going to skate along. I've cut a couple of pieces of slightly thicker card. This is actually packing material that came with some of the paper that I bought from Stampin Up. So I've cut a couple of 1/2 inch wide strips, and I'm going to put one of them along the base of my background piece. At least I am, once the glue decides that it's going to play with me, which it has. That's excellent. Okay. And now I'm going to also, while I have my glue out, I'm going to glue down my folded edges on my sentiment strip. And as you can see, I can't do anything without getting ink all over it, but this bit is nice and clear, and that is what is going to matter. Alright, I'm going to use the strip that I'm going to pull to make sure that I've got my measurements the way that I want them, and I'm going to put a little bit of liquid adhesive just above where the slit is, and bring in my other piece of card, and I want to make sure I don't cover up the slit and that I leave myself a little bit of room for that sentiment card to slide along my pull strip. I do tend to lose my words when I get carried away in my crafting, so I hope that you're understanding what I'm saying. Okay, I'm just going to snip those bits away. Okay, so now that is going to fit in there like that, just so, and when we pull the strip, that is the sentiment that's going to appear. So far so good. Before I get carried away and stick everything down and make life difficult for myself, I have a 3/4 of an inch circle punch, and where I put my little arrow there, I'm just going to bring my punch in, and I'm just going to snip away a little half moon shaped, so that it's going to be easy for me to get my finger in and to pull my little pull strip. This piece of Whisper White is 2 inches by 5.5, and I've taken the curved die from the In the Woods Thinlits, and I have just cut myself a shape along the edge there. Now it doesn't go all the way to the end, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to line up the point of my snips with the end of the curve, and I'm just going to continue it, and the same thing on this side, so that I cut that curve right out of that card. I'm going to pop that onto the front of my my backing card, and I'm just going to apply adhesive along the bottom edge there, just for now. And line that up with my base card, just like that. And now, before I forget, here's my 3/4 of an inch circle punch, and I'm just going to snip that bit out as well. I'm going to do one more thing before I forget, like I did in my first version and made life difficult for myself. Just going to kind of roughly measure where I'm going to want that to be on the finished card. Hold it down with a little bit of masking tape. Got my 3/4 of an inch circle punch, and I'm just going to snip that bit out as well. So now I can take away my temporary tape, and I can put that on one side until I need it. I've stamped my snowman using Memento Tuxedo Black, and I've coloured him in with blends. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail about the colouring in process because it'll make the video too long. I will put a little clip. There's a little clip going on up there, window in window, speeded up, showing you what it was I did. But now it's time to put him into the scene. So to do that, I have a piece of this. This is clear acetate packing material. As it happens, you could use window sheet, but do you know what? I thought I'd use this because it's nice and sturdy, and it was free. My favourite price. I want this to stick quite well, so I'm being brave and I'm going to use glue dots. So I'm going to start with a glue dot towards the top of my clear strip, and I'm going to bring in my fussy cut out snowman. And I'm just going to, just for now, I'm just going to put that one glue dot so that it's stuck down behind his head. And now I'm going to take my clear plastic strip and I'm going to feed it through the slit in my card, and I'm going to sort of decide where I'm going to need to trim it, which is going to be around about there. And I just scratched a line with my paper piercer, and I'm just going to chop that off. Right, so far so good. So once again, I'm feeding the plastic through the strip, and I'm just kind of so clear. That's the highest point. So if I put another glue dot, just carefully lifting that up, just around about his tummy, around about there, that will help keep everything in place, but it will still be able to move along, I hope. And this is a tiny little bit fiddly, but it's not too bad. Okay, so I'm just testing that, and yes, he can move along there quite freely. Alright, now then, here is my sentiment strip, which sits inside there just like that, and that is the furthest point at which I want the snowman to sit. So once again, with the glue dots, going to pop a couple of them onto my clear plastic. Make sure I have this the right way up. I'll be ever so cross if I haven't. And I'm just going to line that up in its channel. Okay. So now if I pull on this, fingers crossed everybody, yes, my snowman slides along. Now this is stuff that I've had in my stash for quite a long time, so I can't even remember where I got it from. And as you can see, it's looking a bit battered. It's 1mm thick by about 1/4 of an inch. That's probably 6 millimeters. You could use dimensionals. You'd have to trim them down quite carefully, and as you can see, I have applied it generously over the back of my card, and now I'm ready to bring this into the front of my card. And lining it up with the notch that I cut out previously with my my circle punch. And now, moment of truth, does this work? Yes, it does. Needed a little bit of a tug first time to get it going. I'm not sure at what point I added the little arrow. I drew it in with my fine journaling pen. So if I've already told you that, I apologise. All right, so I'm pretty much 99% of the way there, but I do think it's still a little bit bare. So I've got some snowflakes that I cut using the beautiful Blizzard die, which I haven't mentioned in the supplies because I wasn't really sure that I was going to use it. I think that one's too big. And I think that one's too big. I'm going to use the little teeny tiny ones just to fill in the space a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the card when it's finished. And there it is, that is my finished card, and I do thank you very, very much for staying with me to the end of this video. It was not without incident, I have to tell you. And this actually is the second version of the card that I made, because the first one didn't turn out at all how I wanted it, and I did learn quite a few valuable lessons, so I make these mistakes so that you don't have to. But that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope that you will come back and see me again sometime soon. But for now, bye bye.